So Dallas, I'm going to give it over to you.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting me, and thank you, Michael. Yeah, I mostly am going to talk about Folk Alliance International and the fact that it's divided up into 5 different regions. And I am the coordinator and executive director of the Southwest region, which includes Texas, which is the thing that would give you the most opportunities, being, or the easiest opportunities being in Texas. Folk Alliance International is an organization that is worldwide, and they do a conference usually in January, February, and it gets 2,000-3,000 people. But the country is divided, like I said, into 5 different regions: the Southeast, Northeast, Southwest, Far West, and Midwest. And so each of those regions host their own smaller conference, which, if you haven't been to any of them, it's a lot easier to start out going to one of the smaller conferences and kind of getting your feet wet, figuring it out, getting a tribe, so that when you go to the big one, you already know kind of how it works. And you know a whole lot of people there already. Because if you go somewhere where there's 2,000-3,000 people and you're all by yourself and you're trying to get people to come and listen to you up against all those other people, it's a lot more difficult and a little bit daunting for many folks. I started the Southwest region in 2000. So we've been going for 23 years. The Northeast was the first one to really, and they get 800 people, and their region is much more, everybody's much closer together, and they have a lot of dense population that they can cull from. Our states here in the Southwest are Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas. Let's see, did I say Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, and all of Mexico? And we just did for many years. We have one big conference, which currently is based in Austin, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But we get about 300 plus people, and it's set up just like the big conference, where you have panels and seminars and showcases and open mics, a lot of opportunities to play. We do an event on the Wednesday before all panels begin at a club in Austin, so that you get to, say you played at Threadgill's or one of the clubs in Austin, and then you also get to meet and hear one song from all the people that are attending that year. So, and also, like, if you're traveling, it's a good place. You don't have to go looking for food. We always go somewhere where you can have dinner and just meet everybody in a more casual situation. And and as Barbara said, it's September 27th through October 1st this year at the Austin Holiday Inn Austin Midtown. And they are so good to us. They let us just kind of get away with bringing in our own foods and drinks and all kinds of things like that when we do open mic and dinner by the pool. We always try to make sure that people have all meals are included in your registration, so that people have what they need. They don't need to go out looking or searching for somewhere to find food or anything else they may need. Once you're at the conference, you get to just stay at the conference with all the other folks and participate in everything that's been scheduled, which in the panels they range. We have panels, times for venues just to gather together. And we have a panel called Wisdom of the Elders, which is an interview of people that have been in the industry for a long time, that their stories are really interesting. And we have a first timers session and songwriting sessions and agents, managers, and mentoring sessions. You can sit down one-on-one with people all day well, it starts on the Friday, and then, you know, you can schedule meetings with people all weekend. So there's just a lot of opportunities to connect and build relationships with people who are in your area. People can come to the conference from anywhere. I mean, there's people who want to tour in the Southwest, so they would come because of that. A lot of things that happen at these conferences is you may not realize how many people there are that are songwriters or musicians or are interested in the same things you are until you meet them at the conference. And then it gives you huge opportunities to build on the community and the relationships that you start that weekend. And I imagine that being a songwriters group, that I know y'all have been, you know, a community for a very long time, that you understand that as a concept, is that the group relationship consciousness is really, it gives you such a better balance in trying to make sense of the music business and peers that help each other. SWRFA, I have to say that the Southwest Regional Conference is based on everybody gets a chance. Everybody gets to play music. Everybody gets listened to. It's not like a huge, you know, ego-driven competition or anything. It's like we do have the showcases where you submit, which, as I think I mentioned earlier, I'm in the middle of listening to the folks that have submitted for the official showcases currently. We have, you know, a whole panel of people listening. And so that's really the only juried part of the conference, is the showcases that happen on Friday night and Saturday night. And typically we have so many people that apply that could very easily be chosen, but we can only choose 16. So what we've started doing was having an alternate official showcase on Thursday. And that's really worked out well. Everybody, it's packed, everybody goes, and it's another opportunity for people who apply to actually play in a room with the sound and lights, and actually have a you know, a stage experience rather than more like a show, you know, an in-room showcase or an open mic situation. But we do have open mics on Thursday, along with a dinner out by the pool, and then the showcases in the hotel rooms. How many people, I mean, many of you probably already know what I'm talking about in terms of at these conferences, people book artists to play for 15 or 20-minute segments in sleeping rooms in hotels. And we have like 10 or 12 rooms that run concurrently on 3 different floors in the hotel. So essentially hundreds of artists have a chance to actually get to play a set and be heard and meet people like one-on-one. That's one of the things, the other things that I find in SWRFA, the people who have governed SWRFA believe that eating meals together is so important, because rather than having to chase somebody around down the hall because you want to give them your CD and that you feel kind of awkward about that sometimes, you might end up sitting down next to them at a meal and start talking, and it's a lot easier at that point, once you've had a conversation and made a friend, to then, you know, talk about the business part of it. And we do our exhibit space is, we don't sell tables, we just have an exhibit space that's out in the main area, and it's open to everybody. So like, say we have 2 or 3 panels going on, the panels let out right in the area where everyone has all of their CDs and their flyers and information about what they do, whether it's your venue or an artist or a CD manufacturer, or, you know, it's just everybody has a place to put their information, and you just kind of have conversations and meet people even at the exhibit area. Because we found that having it in a separate room, only a couple hours a day, once you went through it, you were kind of done. But when it's out in the open like that and everything is on the table and you have constant access to it, the conversations and interactions tend to be a lot more than just those, a couple of hours. And again, having everyone have the opportunity to participate in all of the pieces is something that we feel like is really important. And really, if someone is going to step up and spend their money to come to a conference, we want to make sure that they get what they want and need, which is to interact, build relationships, talk about their music, learn about the industry, and be able to promote themselves in a comfortable fashion. So it's been really successful, the model that we have, and if you are you don't have to join, you don't have to be a member of SWRFA. If you are a member of the Folk Alliance International, it's like, I think it's like $70 for a year's membership for an individual. Then you are automatically a member of whatever region you live in. And you have access to all of the conferences. You can register and go to any of the conferences. And there's all kinds of seminars and panels and listings and special deals with companies like, say, Bandzoogle. SWRFA just switched our website over to a Bandzoogle website because as a nonprofit, we could get it for free. And Folk Alliance International, the main organization, makes all kinds of deals with companies to help their members. So and like, say you play house concerts, and there are the PROs, which are the performance rights organizations, and we have 3 of them in the United States. And sometimes, like, say if you're a BMI artist and you report where you played so that you can get paid from BMI, if they look up that venue that you played in and they aren't getting money from them, then they will then go after those venues and charge them and for presenting music. And it was a big bad issue for a long time. But Folk Alliance now has, at least for house concerts, they're working on some of the other types of venues. But right now, if you're a house concert and you're a member of Folk Alliance, then you're under the umbrella for all of those PROs, and they cannot come after individual house concerts. So that keeps house concerts in the smaller venues from going under and giving the songwriters and musicians places to play that aren't being shut down. And also just a community of how to make sense of all of the things that happen in the industry. Because typically house concerts, they just want you to play. They just want to hear your music and they just want to support you. And they don't do it necessarily for a monetary gain. And so it was getting really difficult for them to continue to just support the music and the musicians if they were having to pay all these fees. And so that's one way a membership can benefit both the musicians and the venues who are supporting the musicians. And I'm aware that they are now still working to try to get an umbrella for, like maybe more like coffee house venues, because right now the house concert's the only one that's actually covered under that umbrella. But there's a lot of, information and help like that as a member of Folk Alliance. And if you were an international touring artist, or if somebody from another country wants to come here, or if you need to know how to set up a tour in another country, they have just tons of information and keep up with all the guidelines, and they lobby for the musicians to have a better way to access all of that and accomplish it and do all the paperwork. And so again, that's just a few things that you can benefit, but just by being a member of Folk Alliance. You don't have to be a member to go to the conference. They like it if you are and would encourage you to be. But if you were to play an official showcase, then that's only like requirement of being a member of Folk Alliance to do that part of a conference. But like I said, you have access to a lot of information about not only the regional events, but events all over the world, and music events, and anyone who is a member of Folk Alliance can post or send them information about, like, potentially if the Dallas Songwriters Association was a member of Folk Alliance, you could post your information in the things that they release. And so there's just, like I said, there's so many ways in which if you're, as an individual, you don't want to have to figure all this out on your own. They have already done a lot of the legwork. And the smaller conferences, the regional conferences, are all, again, based on that same model of panels and seminars on variety of topics, and showcases, open mics, in-room showcases. We have first-timer showcases, mentoring all people from other songwriters and people from the industry. You can sit down with them one-on-one and just ask questions. There's a whole chart of who's available to sit down and do that with during the course of the weekend. One of the things we do at SWRFA, which is basically my very favorite thing I do all year long, is when you register, when you pick up your registration, you get a song prompt, and you write a song during the course of the weekend while you're doing all this other stuff. And on Sunday morning during brunch, which is a great brunch, I mean, they have like the oatmeal, omelet station. I must be hungry. We have an omelet station and a full breakfast, and everyone that wrote their song that wants to share it shares this brand new song that they just wrote from a prompt during the course of the weekend. And these songs are just phenomenal. Well, as you would know, I'm sure that there are things like this and that y'all do as well. And I hear that you have just a ton of events where you're, giving your members opportunities to perform and interact with one another. And a lot of these songs, people kept the song, tweaked it a little bit, and put it on their new project. And at one point, we actually created a CD, a SWRFA CD, of songs that people had written from the prompts that they had chosen to keep in their repertoire. And now there's probably, over all these years, there's probably hundreds of them. And I love it when people say, "Oh, Dallas, I wrote this from a song prompt at SWRFA." And everybody kind of remembers that that's where they got the initial impetus to write that particular song. And sometimes, most of the time, people are like, "Oh, they want to put the prompt back. They don't want that one." And I'm like, no, if you picked it, you have to figure out how to use it. It isn't like if it says Terry's Yellow Kite, you don't necessarily have to say Terry's Yellow Kite in the song. You go wherever those words or phrases guide you. And it's fascinating. Sometimes it's like I said, it's one of my favorite things, and I remain constantly astounded by what comes out of just this phrase on a piece of paper while you're so busy, and you create this fabulous song. And I could give the same prompt to 4 different people, and there would be 4 totally different songs. And it's fascinating to me, because I don't write songs. I'm always just in the organizing part, and it's fascinating and amazing how you are able to take something like that and create a fabulous, I mean, they're not all perfect, of course, on Sunday morning. And sometimes people only have half a song, and that's okay. And sometimes they're really crazy and not, they're not going to keep them. Not everybody keeps every one of them. And sometimes the prompts are kind of out there, but it's just such a fun process. And for those of us who aren't songwriters, to get to watch that is really a wonderful and fascinating part of being in the music industry. So again, if you were to come to the conference, you would have so many opportunities to share what you do and to learn from all the other people that are there. I would hope you might check it out. The website is, I guess, well, maybe somebody can put this in the chat. It's www, of course, SW Folk Alliance spelled out .org. And that's the website where you can find all of the information about SWRFA and see photos from other years. Yep, that's it. You can register there and we have special rates at the hotel, $102, I think, for the rooms. So I guess I have been going to Big Folk Alliance, as we call it, conferences for 25, 30 years. And they used to move every year to a different location, which was kind of crazy because, it was like a brand new figuring everything out every year. And then through the years, it changed to where sometimes it stays in the same place for 2 or 3 years, goes to Canada about every 5 years. It's great fun. I mean, to have 2,000 or 3,000 people in a hotel, pretty much the whole hotel is just music. It's just on the stairwells, on the elevators, in the lobby. It's just this plethora of fabulous music from all over. The big one is really music from all over the world. And it's just really a great experience. There's a lot of people who come who aren't even in the music industry. They're just fans, and they just want to be able to run around to all the rooms and hear all this great music and find new, people that they end up, becoming their fans. And there's just so much to learn from one another. I mean, and there are people like Janice Ian or Tom Paxton or Ani DeFranco or someone like that who might be there doing a panel, and then it might be one of you or me doing a panel with those other folks. And so there's every level of the music industry, whether you're just starting out or whether you're a legend. It includes everything and everybody that has to do with the music industry. And I have always felt like it was a great gift that it's where I ended up as a career in my life. I've kind of given you a general overview of Folk Alliance and what the regions are like. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you are curious about or wondered if it was part of it, or if you already are aware of things? Are there any questions or comments at this point?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the gorilla showcases and how to do one and whatever. The gorilla showcases, tell us a little bit about those and how to do, how to organize one or whatever.
There's like I said, normally at SWRFA we keep it down to like 10 or 12 rooms, because with about 300 or so people. Oh, and the thing I didn't mention too was that the public is allowed to come to the showcases. They can buy a ticket, and then they can also go up and listen to the people that are playing in the in-room showcases. So that bumps up the number of people that are listening a bit. But we only do about 10 or 12 rooms because, you know, you really, if you go to all the trouble to create a room and then manage to get a showcase, you would like some people to be in the room. And so I've always felt if you have too many rooms, then nobody has a chance. And so a host would rent the room for one night or two. We just do the in-room showcases on Friday night and Saturday night. They start after the official showcases at 10:30. And I try to get people to end them around 2, because if you stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, then everybody that has prepared things for the next day feels, you know, kind of let down when nobody shows up because they're all sleeping. But the hosts just asked to be a host, and then are kind of given the guidelines, which are pretty few and far between. We kind of let people just, you might decorate the room, you can have snacks and food in the room if you want to, you don't have to. And you would just, the way we have it set up is we actually just created a brand new forum on our website. And so all of the artists that are registered for the conference that would like to have an in-room showcase post on that forum and say, this is me, I'm going to be at the conference, this is where you can find my music, this, you know, what I sound like. Then the hosts would, if they aren't already familiar with that artist, and, you know, sometimes, you know, the people that you already want to be in your room, you would go and listen to them and then answer back and say, oh yeah, I've got a spot at 10:45, you know, and then you just build your schedule from either the people that you may know, already know directly, or the people that put their information on the forum. We typically do not pass out the names and emails of the hosts, because then you are directly inundated. So we try to use the forum and give the host the option to contact the artists that they're interested in having in their room. At SWRFA, we encourage the hosts to leave a few open spots for newcomers and last-minute registrations. And sometimes you may get someone that you're not that familiar with, but we just try to make sure that everybody that steps up to register and be a part of the conference gets at least one showcase. And then the first timer showcases, we have 3 rooms, and those are hosted by our staff, volunteers, people that have been coming for a long time. And on Friday afternoon, if you have said, I'm a first timer, we just do a whole list of first timers, and then we just go down the list, and everybody that's asked for a spot gets a spot to do one song in the afternoon. And that's a real great place for all of the venues to go, because they get to hear, you know, everybody, you know, just doing one song, one after another. And then they know who they may want to go and hear more of later on in the evening. And there's no fee to be a host. But you do have to, you know, book the room. And you can do, this year we've started, because we have a lot of people who want to host rooms, we're given the option of doing the one night or both nights. Does that answer, or is there something other specific that would be helpful?
Well, for those who don't know, they take everything out of the rooms. So, I mean, the beds are gone and everything, and put chairs up so that there's rooms to.
Well, some people do, some people don't. Yeah, a lot of times the bed is still in there, and you just sit on the bed, and then they add chairs around. So that's also up to the host as to whether they want to, you know, go through all of that and work the hotel to make that happen or not. You don't have to. But that is an option, absolutely.
I take it everything is pure acoustic in those situations.
Yes, in the in-room, you can't have a sound system. Yeah. I mean, you can have a band, but you just can't have a sound system.
My question was, how closely do you adhere to the folk genre, and how far do you deviate from that? as far as
Folk
style.
Alliance, it has no rules about folk, or it could be a conjunto band, it could be Tuvian throat singers if they apply and you want them to be there. We have a tendency to be real aware of most of the venues that come to this particular conference, meaning the Southwest Conference, are smaller venues, few festivals, house concerts, and so they're not going to hire, you know, a 15-piece band. And so we don't ever, you know, pick them to perform, because they wouldn't get any gigs, and it would be kind of, you know, a waste for them. Some of the other larger conferences do have that, because Folk Alliance is not a songwriter event. It's music. It's all music. It's international, which is why we have been really working to be aware of an inclusion for music from Mexico, because it's also a part of our region. And you know, it's just, that's kind of a new thing that we've been working toward to include. And several of the songwriters in recent years have actually sung a couple of their songs, you know, in Spanish, and so, you know, bringing that flavor. Again, being aware that a really huge band just probably wouldn't get any gigs. But again, you don't have to write original music. You don't even have to be a songwriter to participate in Folk Alliance.
Are you affiliated? Is it Folk Alley? Is that part of Folk Alliance?
They are a member of Folk Alliance. It's a whole separate organization that has existed now for decades, and so Folk Alliance doesn't run Folk Alley in any way. They are their own organization. In fact, they just partnered over in the last, could have even been the last 5 or 6 years, I lose track, with, and I can't remember the name of it right now, with another organization that really helped them step up and survive. They were kind of, you know, thinking they weren't going to for a while, but now they're working with a much larger organization under their umbrella, and have been able to continue to broadcast. And
They seem to be more broadcasting, is that their?
That's totally what they do. It's basically a radio station.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe they were affiliated with you guys or something like that, but.
No, not other than being a member and playing a lot of the artists. And, you know, I'm a member of Folk Alley. You would be a member, just like you would be a member of your local radio station, possibly.
Well, they've got package deals. That's why I was going to ask about promoting your CD and stuff like that. And you guys don't do that, right? Other than at the conferences.
Right. So the Folk Alliance itself has connections to organizations that do that, but
okay.
they don't do it themselves. So like there's Eric Balke, and I'm trying to think of the name of the other person. There's several people that have exhibit hall booths at the big conference. That's what they do. They are radio promoters. Like Carrie Estrin is someone in Nashville who basically her career is getting promotion for your new project.
And I can
hire her.
I can get through to her through Folk Alliance, right?
You could. Or you can just like I said, you would have, she is someone that is her business, and you would hire her to get airplay for you.
Okay.
And then there's several other organizations like Eric Balke and so that do that they are members of Folk Alliance, and they are usually at Folk Alliance conferences, where you could talk to them personally, but that is what they do in the industry. And Carrie Estrin is one, Kareistrin. And I can't remember Eric Balke. I can't remember the name of it. Harding Hudson maybe is the name of his company. I could look some of those things up and maybe send it to Michael and he can pass it on.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Because absolutely those are definitely a big part of the membership of the Folk Alliance International organization. And sometimes and a lot of times they'll attend the smaller conferences, maybe the ones that are in their area,
Uh-huh.
whether it's the Southeast or Northeast or.
Well, I'm in Springfield, Missouri. I'm a member of the DSA, but I'm up here in the Midwest and trying to find some stuff out.
Okay, well, there's the Midwest is called FARM.
Farm, yeah.
Yeah, Folk Alliance Regional Midwest.
Okay.
And it's in Chicago in October, their conference.
No, it says here, Naperville, Illinois. Okay, that's Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right outside of Chicago proper, I think.
Okay. But your international is in Kansas City in February, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, when you join, you can go to that one, or is that a different deal?
When you join, you can go to any of them. You still have to pay the registration fees. The membership fee just basically gets you access to all of the information and the connectors and the knowledge about all of the regions and gives you membership privileges for the overall organization. And then you can choose to go to all 5 of the regional conferences if you want to.
Right.
Some people do.
I have a question about the public, the pro thing. You said that the house concert people don't have to pay because I remember when you went through all that and stuff like that. But if I play my original songs, which are copyrighted and published, that is against the grain. How does that work?
They don't acknowledge that, like, say if you played a house concert and then you were a BMI artist and you told BMI you played that house concert, and they go to that house concert and they say, well, you're playing music and you're not paying our fees, which we then pay to the artist, and so you need to pay us. And they say, well, we only allow them to do original songs. And so, but that doesn't fly. People have tried that many times. But the thing that I was pointing out is that Folk Alliance International has, if you are a house concert and you're a member of Folk Alliance and you submit to be under the umbrella of Folk Alliance for the PROs, then you are covered for all 3 of them as a general umbrella for house concerts.
Is there a way to find out if they are? Do you have lists?
They should know. I mean, the house concert themselves.
Yeah, but sometimes they're not always honest. I've run into that problem.
Okay. I don't know if there is, I can't imagine why there wouldn't be a list of umbrella member house concerts. You can always, like if you went on the Folk Alliance, I mean, you can go look around at the Folk Alliance website.
Right.
In all of the different categories, and you might just look for, say, the person in charge of membership. I think it's Tisha Nepal at this point. And you would just ask her that question. How do I find out if a house concert I'm going to play is covered under your program?
Okay.
And I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't answer you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else?
I did put some of that info up, some links to the websites in the chat from the discussion.
Very helpful, Michael. That's really great.
Okay. I haven't actually looked at the chat, but maybe what I'll do is just save it and then I can look at it later. But yeah, it's and I mean, sometimes we have had a panel. I mean, because sometimes organizations that do the same thing, like there's BMI, there's ASCAP, and there's CSAC, and each one of them want you to be a member of their PRO, and so there's certain animosity and confrontation amongst You know, in Canada, there's one, SOCAN, but in here we have 3, and you have to pay all 3 of them if you're a venue. And even if the artists that you're booking aren't their artists, you know, there's no way to delineate all of those little details. You just, if you present music, you have to pay them. I mean, even music has to pay them. Festivals have to pay them. Even SWRFA has to pay them. But what we have also is an umbrella for the regional conferences that, you know, goes under the same payment thing as the main folk alliance, and they, you know, brokered that. And so, you know, if you present music in any way, shape, or form, they find out that you are, they will come, and they have the legal right to sue you if you don't pay them. So a lot of people ended up just closing down their venue, which was getting pretty, even before COVID, was, you know, getting kind of, I mean, you know, if all the venues disappear, where do you play? And so it was like everybody working together to try to figure out how to keep venues in business so that songwriters or musicians and have a place to play. And of all, you know, not everybody is going to play Club Passim or, you know, the Birchmere, but having house concerts in the smaller coffee house venues like what Uncle Calvin's used to do. It's really important to have all of those different levels of availability for artists to play, because there aren't, you know, you may not want to travel to Philadelphia to play. You may want to remain regional. And so you need all of those types of venues to stay in business. And so, you know, that's kind of the whole impetus behind trying to keep venues in business by you know, creating the situations where they are covered for things like that. Anybody else?
What are some
When is Kerrville Folk Festival?
I was the producer of Kerrville for 18 years, and I parted ways with them in end of 2019. So I know a lot about how the festival works or did work. I couldn't tell you.
When is it? When is it held? When is it held?
The Kerrville Folk Festival?
Yeah, when is it
May
held?
and June.
May and June.
Yeah, it just finished June 11th or 12th, something like that.
And how does someone get to play there?
Well, like I said, I can't really tell you what they're doing currently. I have no association with them at this point, but basically you would just probably go to their website and contact wherever it says that you would send a submission. A lot of the booking is just done through agents and managers and New Folk. New Folk is a huge bump up into, you know, getting to play the festival. Always has been for, you know, we just hit 51 years of, you know, being a festival and having New Folk.
Is Ron still running it, or is he live?
Rod died in 2014, and I became the producer after Rod retired in 2002, and then I became the producer, and I produced it up until the end of 2019.
I played Kerrville in '79.
Yeah, I was there. I was there from the very beginning.
It was the songwriters. You sent in a tape of the songs that you wrote. It was for songwriters.
That's
songwriter tree and all that good stuff, huh?
That was called New Folk.
Yes.
Which is what I just referred to. And that's still, you know, one of the banner things that the festival does is bring 20 or 30 artists that have been juried to the festival, and then they perform their songs in front of a packed house.
Oh, yeah.
and 6 people are chosen as the award winners. And now, for the last 8-10 plus years, besides the award and getting to come back and perform at the festival, they also put together a tour for the 6,
Oh,
and they tour all over Texas together as a group, the 6 finalists. And
David
and-
Card helped me with that back in the day.
oh yeah, David.
Poor David.
Yeah, knew David well.
Yes.
So have you gone since
Any other
then?
questions?
Huh?
Have
Have
you
I
gone
gone-
to the festival since then?
No, I lived in Dallas till about 89. Then I came back up to Missouri to work in Branson. And then now I've got my own record company and publishing, and I just released a new album, folk album. So I still keep my roots there. So
Yeah.
Through Barbara, her and I back in the day helped start this DSA a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've known about it for forever, and because I used to go to Uncle Calvin's in Jefferson Freedom all the time.
Yeah. But I was chosen. I think there was 30 of us chosen out of 700 of that contest
Mhm.
back then. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
It's still pretty much like that, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'd like to sneak in a question.
Sure.
What are some of the universal characteristics you can list of people that succeed in this?
Wow. You mean in becoming successful songwriters, or touring musicians, touring all over the country, getting songs published? In this, do you mean because you're the Dallas Songwriters Association, how do you become a successful songwriter in terms of financially? Or
Improvise. When I said this, I knew it was going to be a very wide spectrum.
okay. I think that you have to first figure out what that means for you. What is success? Do you want to become a touring artist that tours all over the country, internationally? Do you want to remain regional? And like for me, say, if I was a songwriter, I would want to be a songwriter that was kind of at the level of John Gorka or David Wilcox or folks like that can still go to the grocery store, but they make a really good fee for playing their music. And so there's a point at which you have to decide if you have created enough material and you know what it means to book yourself, publish it. You have to do every single job and understand what it takes to make it work before you could then go and try to find an agent or a manager that would do all of that work so that you could concentrate on being the creative person. And there's a fine line between when you have reached the point of understanding everything you're asking someone to do for you and then asking someone who is already doing it as their career, their profession. A lot of times, I had my own agency. I worked for a record label. I've kind of done almost every job. And I will tell you that being an agent's probably the last thing I would ever do again. And that's not because I don't appreciate what they do and I don't like
I agree.
helping the artists to get there. It's just the hardest job in the industry as far as I'm concerned, and I never made any money. Now there are people who have huge agencies that are very, very successful and have a whole cadre of artists that of all levels, the people they are just introducing, and people who are well known and famous, and they have a whole office of agents that work the artists that they agree to represent. But again, before you could ask an agency of that level to take you on, you have to have already done all those jobs. You have to show that you have already accomplished what it is that they need to take you to the next step. That you've already played this many venues, you already bring in this much money. It's a whole layer of what they would need from you before they would be willing to put you on their roster. The other thing, that if you're at the place where you think that's your next step, you need someone to do those things for you, a good place to start is with someone who is a huge super fan of your music. Someone that comes to every show, knows all your music, maybe has helped you sell your CDs, just is really, really in tune with you as a songwriter and what you do, and has the time to support you in ways of figuring out who it is that they might call on your behalf to get you the next level gig. And it's a learning curve for them as well as for you, but a lot of times that is someone who will give 110% because they already love what you do. And convincing someone who doesn't know you, who needs the money from what you do, is a lot harder than convincing someone who already is like, oh man, this is so exciting, I love what you do and I'm gonna help you do it, you know. And you build a team. Many times famous people aren't the most talented people, they're just the people who found the best team. And that's just something I believe, because I know a lot of people who are way more talented than a name that you could mention every day of the week, but they garnered enough attention from somebody who had what they needed to get into those places.
That's pretty exciting. Thank you.
Yeah. Did that help at all?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
I know I'm light years away from where you're discussing, but it was very helpful.
Excellent advice. So
Oh, good.
Wow, Dallas, you have been a wealth of knowledge tonight. I'm just amazed. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
And then that
Sometimes people
that
ask
last
me,
question,
people
you
ask me
showed me- you
questions
showed us
and I
so
start
much.
talking and then they go, whoa, whoa, that's enough. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Did you have a question?
No, I'm just saying that even that last question, you showed us so much about your knowledge and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. This was great fun.
You've done. What a show, what a show. Well, what's coming up next? We have some songs tonight to review and critique.
And I would like to say, normally I would be really, really pleased to stay for that if you would allow me to. But since I'm listening to the submissions for SWRFA, I'd kind of like to bow out and go take care of some more of that. If that's doesn't.
You're probably listened out by now, aren't you?
Well, we had 100 people submit this year, which is good. And I'm only about a third of the way through. But no, it's funny. I don't really get listened out for the most. I mean, I listen to all 800 new folk submissions every single year.
Oy.
And there were 40 other people listening too. But I mean, I wanted to hear everybody. And I would actually love to stay and hear you tonight, but I'm gonna kind of maybe be aware of my job.
We understand that we've been there a time or two ourselves.
Yeah,
So
I bet.
thank you for being here tonight and look forward to perhaps seeing you in the future somehow.
Yeah, and maybe come to SWRFA, some of you, and
Yeah.
you know, help.
When is the next one for the Texas area? Do we got that in this?
The Southwest Regional Conference is September 27th through October 1st. It's in Austin, Texas. And I'll repeat the website again. It's SW Folk Alliance spelled out .org. And that's where you can, you know, get all the information, and it has the registration link and
It
everything
was
there.
right here on the screen. I just didn't look at it.
Well, we can't take you anywhere.
Can't leave me at home either.
Yeah.
Songwriters was a member of Folk Alliance for a few years, back when Lewis Myers was executive director.
Oh, I love Lewis. Yeah.
I really miss Lewis. So we also, you know, had some ads in the directory, their program for it, and I used to go, but I haven't been in a long time. February is a hard
Yeah,
time.
well, yeah, well, you know, they did it May one time, but it was, you know, COVID kind of messed all that up too. But, you know, after Lewis left and then he died, and then Angus had it for the last 8 years, and they just moved to a new executive director this last year, Nita. And Angus is now working at Swallow Hill in Colorado. But it's fun. It's just so much fun to go, and
So
you know,
people don't realize that the gorilla showcases, you get more entertainment at the Folk Alliance than anywhere you can. I mean, after going to South by Southwest and making your picks on who you wanted to see for the night, and trying to get across town to see this person, that person, you go to the Folk Alliance, and your only big problem is trying to get an elevator. If you can go up and down
yeah,
the stairs, then you're good, you know.
yeah. I mean,
The
it's
elevator's a bit
astonishing.
backed up, but you know, it's great. I mean, it's such a plethora of music, and you can catch
Yeah.
a song here and a song there and a song there, and it's so easy because it's all in one place.
Yeah, I tell people I am not going to go to Americana in Nashville or South by Southwest and try to get across town, when if I can go to Folk Alliance, I just have to get up and, you know, in the same building.
Or a stairs or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Folk Alliance. So yeah. Well, I hope to see some of you at SWRFA, and let me know if I can help with something, and if you you know, have any other questions, or you know, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Dallas. We really appreciate it.
Sure.